Do you know what time it is? Yes, sir, it's lunchtime. And do you know that the only thing that is stopping you all from actually enjoying your lunch is me? Now, chalega sab. I'm game. But the more important thing is that I can guarantee you one thing, that I will ensure that you all don't sleep now in this talk so that you miss lunch. All right? So, a little bit about me. I've been programming for the past 20 years, which seems like a long time, but I'm still a youngster at heart. My cool hairstyle gives it away. I've started George Software about 12 years ago, and we specialize in open source technologies. In fact, open source is the only reason why I'm still alive. It's been the source of our livelihood and livelihood of all our 110 employees. We've been Ruby specialists and Go specialists for the last, Ruby specialists for 12 years and Go for the last maybe 5 years. We work a lot in internet-based applications. And of course, supporting that, we have to have support for iOS, Android. Oh, and my talk, PWAs, right? So, I want to set the tone very clear, right? What this talk is not about. I am not here to give you all a demo on how to build a PWA. There are plenty of videos, tutorials, documentation on the web. Google Dev Summit does a really good job about this, right? I'm not here to tell you all, the gyan about why we should or should not do it. But I can tell you that this is an extremely opinionated talk. You will find opinions, biased opinions, even a prophecy in this talk, right? And I assure you that I'm going to question the use of PWAs in both ways. Is it good? Is it bad? When should you use PWAs? Why should you use PWAs? Do you really need to use PWAs? And I keep using the word PWA for once and for all, let me get it clear, progressive web apps. What a cool name, right? Ultimately, it is still a web application, but we'll call it more progressive, not intending to take a dig at the Internet of Things and all the cool sponsors who work about Internet of Things, but it's always been a running joke in my mind. An Internet of Things, an Internet of everything, web apps, progressive web apps. My take is that if you want to build any new cool tech, think of a cool name, get a good logo, and I think people will start following it. But enough of what that t-shirt says now, right? So, let me ask you all a simple question. Do you all have insurance? Right? I'm sure all of you have insurance. I mean, now the laws have mandated everyone, even on a two-wheeler, to get insurance. How many of you have installed an application for buying insurance? Chances are very few people. But let me get this concept right. You will go to a website to buy insurance, or you will call your friend who's an insurance agent and say, "Yaar, wo mere ko insurance dila de." I don't know anything about it. Just get it done. But as a customer, I will also not install an insurance app. But what if I was an insurance agent? I'm selling insurance. If I'm selling insurance, it makes a lot of sense for me to actually have an app. It helps me get access to data faster. Everything just works for me smoothly. How many of you all have a Swiggy or a Fasos or a food delivery app, Food Panda, Uber Eats, maybe even grocery pickups? You want that app. Why? Because you're always interested in live tracking. You're interested in things like, your save my payment details. Yaar, wo Paytm ka dalo, nahi to UPI. Put up something, but don't keep troubling me for login every time to the app, right? So there are benefits of installing an app. Let's go ahead and ask for the midway. Pizza delivery apps, a complaint management system, for bill payments. How many of you all have apps for this? I know you all won't raise your hands, but you know what? It's debatable. Some of you all will, and some of you all won't, which is okay. What I'm trying to get at here is, there is no right and there is no wrong. What is important is your frequency of use, your ease of use, right? Which brings me to two very big parts of our life. I'm pretty sure everyone here is involved in both these activities. Sadly, but it's true, correct? Now earlier, if you take the case of e-commerce, we had few options, and slowly this thing has become a big mess. I don't want to keep installing applications for all this. It is just a freaking nightmare. For me, my phone, the number of notifications I get, suddenly people are going to start questioning you, yeah, oh, are you sure it's not a fake application and the notification you're getting is not from that person whom I shouldn't be meeting? Social media has created another bomb. Earlier there were few, now it is insane. So what is the way out of this? Now, are progressive web apps just taking on the world? Now, progressive web apps, for the sake of definition, I will delay it. Let's see if these things are actually going to be helpful for me. They work on all browsers, supposedly. All right, PWAs work on all browsers. I have plenty of nice tools which I can build web apps, progressive web apps in. I have React, Polymer, Ionic, Vue, Angular, the works. I can build these tools very easily. They are all available. I can power them with Workbox. If you all have not used Workbox, please look it up. It's in JavaScript libraries for getting you offline support, for getting you more resilience, for getting faster performance, caching, and even enhancements. Front-end side. On the server side, use technologies. Of course, definitely, I recommend using a lot of microservices. Use Go. Yeah, I work in Go, so it definitely makes sense. If you all have not worked with gRPC, please use gRPC. Ensure that you have a lot of your single responsibility principles, scoped out properly, put out in different microservices, installed on the cloud, and voila, that deer really thinks that PWAs are going to take on the world. Little realizing somebody is watching you, right? Among the stuff I've mentioned here, the red stuff is the one I want to concentrate on, the stuff I've written in red, especially user engagement consciousness. It's not there on the net. I told you, this is an opinionated talk. I coined that word. It means how serious am I about engaging, retaining, and interacting with my users. The example I lay out there is also on similar lines. If you want to have if you have data, maybe like 10 lakh records, would you use Microsoft Excel on your computer or would you use Google Docs? And how many people have tried to import 10 lakh records in Google Docs, it doesn't work, you scratch your head and say, chhod yaar, I'll just use Microsoft Excel or LibreOffice or whatever you want. But I go offline. I get onto my computer and just get my work done. If you're working with PWAs, you have to allow for loss of some clientele for any God-forsaken reason. It could be as simple as somebody is using an older browser, somebody has a wrong version, somebody has an incompatible version or has a slow machine. In this case, a machine could be a device, could be a desktop, could be a laptop, could be a mobile phones. I can't guarantee what kind of computer you would probably use. I can't guarantee what kind of mobile phone you'd use. It'll eat up your memory, it'll crash, so be it. Then you have this new concept of service workers. How many of you all have heard / interacted or worked with service workers? Right? Very few of you all, because this is a relatively new concept. Service workers allow me multi-threading functionality using JavaScript. Awesome. This also adds one more additional benefit of getting me to install a PWA with service workers with background support, which means I get this push notification, which is cool, but at the same time, there is a background job running. That background job may have access to your mobile peripheral devices like the camera, your geolocation. Now, the talk has already been on data privacy. How much you want to rely on this is your call. But a progressive web app will subtly start doing this, take all this information and move ahead. Now let's take it one step further. I go to Flipkart, and Flipkart is an excellent example. Flipkart Lite. You go to the website on the left side, you see the website that you go there, it will tell you, add this to your home screen. Now, if I'm talking to all web developers, this stuff is straightforward. So I tried it on my wife. My wife is an artist, fine artist. She has no idea about web development. I told her, you know what, check this out. What is this add to your home screen? She clicked on it, like, let's see it, and it installed like an app. And then she opens it, it looks like an app, and she's like, dude, this is awesome. It has suddenly installed on my phone without allowing me to go to the Play Store and without having me to download this thing, and it installed in like 1 second. It looks like an app, feels like an app. Even the application shell does not make it look like a website. You can see that there is no browser, URL. It doesn't work. It looks so cool, right? But life is not so simple. In fact, the button next to it, Twitter, is also installed as a PWA if you want. And you will not notice that it is a progressive web app until you try to switch applications between screen and see that is Chrome that is working there, not Twitter. Now, if life was so simple, so I tried it on my iPhone, still the website. Now, iOS is inherently slow. Apple has been slow in adapting PWA. People think it's a Google only thing. Chrome is awesome. But yes, all browsers are getting there. All browsers are reaching a particular arena where all of them will actually work together. Now that we know why a PWA is probably going to be useful, here is a slide, one short summary of my opinionated works of what I think is pretty cool about PWAs, why they work. First and foremost, no installation required, rocks. That means I do not have to bother about the data storage on my phone, right? It's just easy. There's the key concepts of the service workers, excellent use of using JavaScript in event-driven way to ensure that there's a lot of multi-threading support, background support, push notifications, everything that a native app will give you. You have the web app manifest, which determines which devices you can use, the icon you should use, how it should be installed, what is the application shell. All these things make your progressive web app look just like a native app. I'm assuming, since we've used tools like React or Ionic Polymer, that it will automatically be responsive based on the viewport. And you get offline support. Now, offline support is sometimes always very funny to me. So I'm browsing an e-commerce site. And for whatever reasons, I don't have internet connection and I go buy that fancy t-shirt. Or in this particular case, I buy those fancy earrings for my wife because I forgot our engagement. And it tells me, yes, all okay. And it's offline. It's a line you have to draw. Offline support is only going to take you that much distance to help you get a good user experience for short duration. Today, in the world of where internet mobility is always there and nobody cares about the amount of money you pay for data, these things just work. So do not bother too much about offline support, but since it's built in with PWA, why not ride the bandwagon? It is always said it is fast and secure. PWAs work only on HTTPS. So what is the chances of somebody trying to hack in and adding a link which is actually not Flipkart but pointing to somewhere else? It won't happen. Because the PWA can only be installed when you are on an HTTPS, and all communication with the PWA to the server side is always on HTTPS, that is TLS. Which means if your certificate doesn't match, your server side will just reject it. So the chances of a man-in-the-middle attack, the chances of somebody just getting into your session or trying to fish you out is very, very low, which is excellent on a PWA. So far, so good. Let's look at the downside. Apple, Microsoft are always lagging behind Google. Chrome is fantastic when it comes down to taking on the latest work for PWA and taking it to the next forefront. In fact, the latest Google Dev Summit is saying PWAs for desktops. Because they say, why do you want to install anything? Get onto the desktop for better visualization, for graphs, charts, integrations, and it really helps a lot. Then again, you have the browser dependency. Now here is where I ask all of you all to take a very technical call also. If I'm dependent on my own logic, code, bugs. I drive my own business, and I also write the losses. If I'm going to be dependent on a browser for my business, I need to be careful about it. If I'm going to be dependent on the version the browser or my customer has, I need to be careful and I need to take those sensitive calls. Also, what is the first thing you do when you want to install an application? You go to your App Store or Play Store and search for that particular app. You might not find it. A lot of companies will use a progressive web app, bundle it in a native web view, and apply it on the Play Store and App Store too, so that we get all the consumers in place. Adds a little bit of complexity, but it still works. Analytics, debugging, these are the things which are going to cause a little bit of hiccups when you're working PWAs. But I said this is going to be an opinionated talk. These are my ideas of when you are trying to run a business and you think whether I should or should not use PWAs, try to ask yourself these questions. Am I sure that the product that I'm putting out is only a mobile first app? I'm not sure. Go with a progressive web app. If you want to test the waters and see how a user will react, build a PWA, it saves a lot of time. If you know that you're going to have frequent updates, you're not going to react to a customer's feedback to you, use a PWA for sure. On the technology side, how heavy is the assets? Assets are images, audio, videos, documentation, sprites, all the assets, everything that you have. How much of interaction do you require on the client side? Like think about a game that you're trying to build versus an e-commerce site. E-commerce sites, social media, news posting, content postings, excellent for PWAs because they're lightweight and the content is always server-side driven. If you have a lot of interaction from the consumer, you want to retain also, think about a native app. Perspective. If you have a Fitbit or a Nike Fuel Band or a Garmin, think about them having a web application on your phone which is trying to use Bluetooth to sync into and do this. It's a nightmare. It won't happen. This brings me to the other point. PWAs do not have complete hardware peripheral support on the phones. NFC, Bluetooth, not supported yet. So a Fitbit you will still need a native app. But the bottom line is user engagement. If you want to retain your users, you are very conscious about the users who are installing your applications, just go native. If you have a large scale website where you want to reduce or you're okay to lose a few customers, go low on your user happiness quotient, faster on your iteration cycles. This is my pro tip for all the web devs here. If you are using React or Ionic or Polymer, might as well start your building on the right foot. Use these boilerplate templates which will help you build your application the way you want it and be future-proofed. So when the browsers are supporting it, right, you can automatically incorporate a PWA. Try to use all these frameworks to assist you. And I told you there is always a prophecy in my talk. I believe that if the future might not just know what browsers are, all the features, connectivity, functionality of what browsers do today, if it gets bundled as part of your standard operating system specs, not Chrome OS or Internet OSs, standard operating systems, your PWAs will just be de facto. I also call this the silver bullet. Now, reaching our conclusion. Are they good? Are they bad? We know that TV killed the radio, internet killed the TV, mobile phones killed the landline, the 3G, 4G have all killed the fixed line broadband connection, the cloud is killing the on-prem setups, smartphones are killing the use of standard computers. I do believe, ladies and gentlemen, PWAs will kill most native apps when that elusive silver bullet is found.